want to point this out. The Hawks right now have a decision to make because they obviously, we talked about this before. They have Trae Young, they have Dejounte Murray, and now they have and Jalen Johnson. That's like the three best players on their team. And then they also have the number 1 overall pick. And look, you can talk about how shitty this draft is. Number 1 overall pick's number 1 overall pick. If you have good scouts, you'll probably figure out a way to, at least maximize that pick and make it the right choice.
Russillo was saying on Bill's pod that this draft is somebody told him that this draft is like a normal draft that starts at 10. That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
That's never been the case for any draft except for 2000.
I think it is fair to say that this is like a normal draft that starts at like pick 4. Which
4 or 5. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Which, by the way, when you jump from fucking 12 to 5, that's pretty good. It's still really good. You could still get a real quality impact player here. God, by the way, it's so funny to hear people say like, well, Sarr is clearly the number 1 pick in this draft, but you have Apella and Okonkwo. It's like that is like fucking Kevin O'Connor saying that the Nets can't trade for Trey Young because they already have fucking Cam Thomas.
That's also, I heard him say that.
Yeah.
So they can't trade for Trey Young, or I'm assuming Donovan Mitchell as well, because they have Cam Thomas.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they be trading Cam Thomas? Like, why would they keep Cam Thomas in that? I would imagine the other team would value Cam Thomas, or if they don't value Cam Thomas, another team would. You're not going to pay Cam Thomas if you're trading for Trey Young.
Yeah, that's like they obviously don't play together. You know, it's very very silly. I don't know. I think a lot of the Hawks stuff. I don't know. I mean, I think that you've been on this all season, and you know that like essentially when you pull Trae Young or Dejounte Murray off the floor, they're essentially the exact same team. You're even a little better.
They're the last 2 years. Yeah.
So like all-time L for Landry Fields, by the way, and the ownership off to a bad start. Travis Schlenk, we won't forget what you did. We won't forget that this was not your fault.
You were forced into it, didn't want to do it.
Yes. So I really need to figure out where Travis Schlenk is working now.
He's in Washington. He is.
He is in Washington? Okay. All right. So Washington, when they draft Topich, and I'm on the stream, and I'm like, yes, Travis Schlenk, save them. But I think that I don't know. It's a little weird to me how Trey Young is being talked about.
Look, I'm gonna give up the ghost here. I've been a Trey hater. Mm-hmm. He's become underrated again.
Yeah,
like Trey's the ultimate underrated, overrated swing guy. Where like depending on the months of the year, the way that you talk about it and the way that you feel, the way that the dialogue has been around Trey, and I do think a lot of that just kind of extends to the off the court stuff that everyone hears, which is like he's kind of a pain in the ass to work with. He hasn't been a great teammate to certain guys, but on the court, Trey Young, I personally think that I don't think they should trade him. I think that this is an opportunity to convince Trey that it's worth it to stay in Atlanta. We'll take the number 1 overall pick. We'll trade Dejounte. The question to me is, would you rather sell low on Dejounte Murray? Would you rather sell low on Trey Young? Because the thing that we can learn, and this is what Alex from Down to Dunk said about the Thunder, and he's like, everyone always talks about tanking and they talk about rebuilding and they talk about whatever. He's like, the thing you should take from the Thunder's rebuild is not any of that shit. The thing you should take is sell high when you have the opportunity. And that's exactly what the Thunder did. And the Hawks should learn to not sell low on Trey Young. Unless the marriage is like completely done and over with and they can't reconcile, that might just be something beyond it. But in terms of having a star player that can give you a top 5 offense, having a star player that you have never really capably built a great team around. Like they've always had decent talent, but they've never had like pieces that all fit. And Jalen Johnson's really the first kind of role player that's like hand in glove with him. And then you get like role players that could, I think that Jalen Johnson would even like make an all-star. He makes some all-star teams at some point. So like you have that factor, plus you have this number 1 overall pick. And if you went to the Nets and you just said, look, we'll trade you Dejounte. Let's just say they miss out on Donovan Mitchell. We'll trade you Dejounte for Dorian Finney-Smith, I don't know, Cam Thomas, and a first-round pick or whatever. In that case, I think that you make your team better. I think you make your team better. You get an extra pick. And if you go that route, I don't see a reason to rebuild here like they've been kind of signaling like they want to do, because they don't have their picks the next 3 years. And then you just have a shitty young team with no ability to kind of reap the benefits of having a shitty young team. And you're setting up whoever you take at number one. If you take Sarr at number one, you better not trade Trae Young. Like, you better not trade Trae Young, because it doesn't make sense. You're setting Sarr up for failure. If you put him in a situation where he can play off of Trae Young, cover up for some of the defensive stuff he has, and build himself into an offensive player where he has a defined role, and he can, because he's limited offensively right now, and he can grow into that, that's what they need to do.
That's what I was going to say. Kind of the comp I've been workshopping for Sarr is like Jonathan Isaac, where you're not really sure what the shooting is going to be like, is kind of generally what you've got to be thinking about for Sarr. Like, he's not quite the defender that Isaac is, but he moves the same way and has the same length. You know what I'm saying? So that's like the defensive upside. Honestly, I did my big board. I had Sarr at 7 on my big board, but I still mock him going number 1 to the Hawks, because part of the reason I don't like Sarr on a bad team. Like, Sarr needs to have, I like Sarr a lot more if he's going into a structured good team. Like, I like him a lot more for Houston and for Atlanta than I do some of these other teams that just are anarchy right now. Like, he can, with an established role, like, I think if you've got to tear it down, I would rather trade Dejounte than Trae Young. I think if you think Dejounte can, because I just don't think Dejounte is like all that great of a creator. I know he is a creator. He's not a Trae Young level creator.
No.
And
if you're building around Dejounte, you're thinking more, how can we make our team a better two-way team?
Yeah.
And with Trae, you're leaning more into offense, but offense at the end of the day is, especially in the regular season, extremely important. And Trae has led top 5 offenses before. Well,
and like with Sarr, like I've heard the very funny thing about, Capella and Okongwu are there. And I think
it was more about, I think Capella they're done with. I think it's probably more about his fit with Jalen Johnson than anything else, because Jalen is, I know he had a good shooting year this past year, but he's never been an established shooter, and Sarr has those question marks too. So you're like, all right, let's say we start Sarr at the 4, which I think a lot of people thinks he can play at the 4, by the way. Yeah. Let's say you start him at the 4 instead of the 5. How do you get a spacing? Okongwu can't shoot. So if you have 3 non-spacers and you keep Capella, he's a non-spacer. I think it's just more about the fit in general. You cannot worry about if you're worried about Okongwu, you've lost the plot. He's just not good enough to worry about.
That's what I was.
Jalen Johnson's good enough for me to worry about in this situation.
I think the hypothetical of Sarr, because the other thing is, if you're drafting Sarr number 1 overall, you believe that he can find the shot. He hypothetically will be this spacing 4, in the future. That's like his realized version of him. And I think that, honestly, that fits kind of well with Okongwu, that like theoretical player where like the thing that he's not good at is rebounding, like Sarr. Like he's kind of a weak rebounder for a 7'1" guy, or 6'11", whatever he is without shoes. Like, so if you put him with kind of a beefy front court guy like Jalen Johnson, who, shot 36% last year, which was a career high, so that's still not like great. But I think that with Bogdanovich, and especially if you have Trae Young, well, again, I know Trae Young shot like 36%, but I don't fucking care. He's a great shooter. Like you're not gonna.
That's more about the difficulty of shot.
Mean anything? Yeah, like that doesn't mean anything.
Trae can shoot.
Get that out of your head. I just think that team makes a lot more sense, and I really like the Sarr fit for them. Obviously, way more than any of the fucking guards that they would pick, or Klingon, or because that's what it is. Your options are guards, Sarr, Ricochet, or Klingon, and the top 7 is kind of what it sounds like. So And it's pretty high to take Riche.
And even if you wanted to move on from Trae and Dejounte, let's just hypothetically say that.
Yeah.
I like some of these guards. None of the guards that are going to get selected at 1 are probably going to be ever as good as those guys. Mm-hmm. And if they do reach that ceiling, like let's say Reed Shepherd or Rob Dillingham, or I don't know, one of these guards, Topic, whoever reaches that level of player, it's going to be so far from now that once again, by the time they're in their prime, you pretty much only have this person and Jalen Johnson, because you're not able to restock your talent through the draft. Atlanta might be eventually a place that can get free agents, but right now it's not a place that gets free agents.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm starting a rebuild, the first thing I want to have is either my own picks, which if they want to call the Spurs, if there's ever going to be a team that has the balls to do the thing that we've been talking about, I'd be shocked. But the Rockets and the Nets have a chance to make this up with Mikal Bridges going back there for the Nets picks. That doesn't seem like it's going to happen. The Suns could call the Nets and say Devin Booker for our picks back. That doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And the Trae Young thing, from what I've heard from a few different people, is a lot of the Trae Young to the Spurs talk is a bit of leakage from Trae's camp to be like, please can Trae go play with Wemby? Because everyone wants to play with Wemby.
Yeah.
Because they see the potential of what that can do for their stock, for their next contract, all that shit. The only thing I think that you have to worry about with both Dejounte and Trae is if you bring them back, you underperform, they're unhappy. And I think Trae has 3 years left on his deal. And Dejounte just signed an extension, but he has 4 years left on his deal. The clock is ticking on those things, especially for Trae, because Trae is like the one that you actually would worry about with that.
Here's what I would say. My thing that I get up onto is I'm a big anti-sunk cost fallacy. Like, you've just got to fucking bite the bullet if you're, like, I don't think that them not having their picks should have any bearing on what, like, it's embarrassing, but I don't think it should have any bearing on how they behave. Like, do this. If you're going to trade Trae Young or Dejounte Murray, you're doing it because you're trying to make your team better, or you're resetting your team. You've made a decision. We're not going to be good enough. We're not going to be good enough with this iteration. So I would just do that, because they're weirdly, they do kind of have some like young players I would like to see more of. Like, I'm not totally out on Griffin yet. I would like to see him get like some real fucking.
I'm not out on Griffin the player. I'm out on Griffin the guy who thinks the rapture is going to happen sometime in the next year.
Jonathan Isaac was fucking hooping.
True. That's a good point. It's a good point. It is.
Jonathan Isaac was hooping.
Has Jonathan Isaac ever liked tweets specifically saying that the rapture is coming? I'm just saying there's a lot of tweets that he has liked that suggest that Jesus is going to return.
Okay. Was that, or was it that Doc Rivers was going to return to take his dad's job? Was that actually what he was talking about? That might have been it.
Maybe that was the prophecy that was foretold.
Yeah. Doc descended from the golf course to take us all away to a 15-15 record the rest of the year.
That ungrateful bitch, JJ Redick. I made you.
I'm behind this rock. Can somebody let me out? It's been 3 days.
I love the idea of Doc as Jesus. What are you, betrayed me? He goes to the media and tells the media that he doesn't like Judas, and that Judas needs to play harder at the dinner. Judas didn't pass any mashed potatoes at all during the dinner.
JJ Redick or Ben Simmons in this situation?
Yeah, dude, we're having a pretty good coaching. I want to sit back and appreciate the coaching moment that we're having right now. There's a lot of characters that are coaches. Like, Tibbs is like one of the more normal coaches we have right now, and they're running like full spreads where they're like basically just saying that Tibbs is a Volcel fucking basketball eunuch who doesn't like run anything, and he's like one of the more normal coaches we have left in the NBA.
Yeah, Normie Thibs.
Anyway, we got off topic. Back to the Hawks. Honestly, the Hawks have like I know Kobe Buffkin like probably sucks, but like maybe not. I don't know. Like I don't know. I've never seen him.
You're
play.
selling me on it.
I'm just saying, like we don't.
He
know
probably sucks, but he's still very young. He's like 20, I think.
We do this all the time with young guys, where it's like, well, they fucking suck. Time to move off. Like, Kobe White's a great fucking example of this. Like Kobe White was dog shit for like 2 to 4. It was like dog shit for 2 years. Was like normal to bad for like a year and a half, and now is good. So
all right. So quick thing on the Kobe Buffkin, AJ Griffin, whatever. Yeah. If there's one team that's probably going to be patient, it's probably the team that just had Jalen Johnson in year 3 become like a good starter when he didn't play at all his rookie year. Like he's probably the biggest exception to that rule. If you don't play at all your rookie year, I'm not saying like AJ Griffin played his rookie year. He was actually pretty decent. Like there are guys that play a little bit of minutes. Jalen Johnson's one of the only guys I can ever remember that literally spent a full year in the G League and barely played at all for the Hawks, and then turned out to be a legit good NBA player with potential star upside. Like that is a very rare thing that happens. So I think the Hawks, especially if they're going into like more of like, even if it's not a full on rebuild, even if it's a reset, I think at a minimum, you want to try to rebuild Trae's value over this time. And like, if that's true, if we are to believe that Jake Fisher thing that was just dropped, that says that Brandon Ingram might have more trade value than Trae Young right now.
Keep Trae. Keep Trae.
That's what I'm saying, is that keep Trae until you can show the league that he can still be that guy. And I think that if you put better pieces around him, you might get to the chance where you could do that. And honestly, even just it's addition by subtraction, moving on from Dejounte, even if I think Dejounte is a solid, good player, like I just don't think that pairing is ever going to work. And I think that if they just make a more normal team around Trae, they can be competitive and they can, let their guys grow into the players that they're going to be. Because Trae puts everyone in a defined role. Trae puts everyone in a, more of, just things that they need to do to develop their game over time. And then if they prove to be good enough and Trae wants out in a year, you get more shit for Trae a year from now. And you don't do this thing where you're just blowing it up because you feel like you have to blow it up because you got the number 1 overall pick in a draft that honestly you might miss on the first pick. And then it's like it's just getting rid of Trae for nothing essentially, because you don't have potential to get those high picks moving forward. So I think that the chances of them doing a full on rebuild, it doesn't make any sense in my brain to me.
And the other thing is shit's about to get real fucking weird this summer. Like people, you might get real offers, and I think the benefit that Atlanta has is I think you can kind of pick and choose. Like if you have better offers for Dejounte, trade Dejounte. Like if you're not getting what you want for Trey Young. Like because I think that's the real fucking problem, is that was fucking stupid to begin with. That was one of the that was such a dumb trade. They're still fucking digging themselves out of that.
If you have a small guard who gets buckets, why would you ever want to put Dejounte Murray with him anyway?
Yeah.
Philadelphia 76ers.
Talk me into it. But that's what I guess that's just what I'm saying, is that I think that either way, this team is going to look better as long as one of those guys is gone. I would bet on Trae. I believe in Trae more than I believe in Dejounte Murray. Even giving up kayfabe here. Now, if you have a pathway to get 2 players who are better than Dejounte Murray, okay, now that you could talk me into Dejounte fitting more on that team. But right now, as it stands, that seems like, especially with this fit that doesn't work, that seems like a pipe dream. And especially in this window in these next few years. Whereas Trae could be the best player on a playoff team. We've seen it before, even if it was a bit fluky. He hasn't really had a great supporting cast around him. You can make it better, and I think that you can right the wrongs at a minimum. So yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about the whole situation. By the way, this was a report from Draft Express. The Ricochet, Sarr, Shepard, Klingon, and Dillingham are the 5 guys that they are considering for the number 1 overall pick.
I think it's gotta go. You gotta go Sar.
I think Sar. I don't like Sar. I think Sar is.
I do. I
really
think he's
risky.
gonna be good.
I mean, I think he'll be fine, but I just like a lot of the other top 7 guys. Even like Dillingham, who's like pretty boomer bust. I like his upside a little bit more than Sar. I don't trust guys that like are really, really struggling to shoot like at like levels below. I don't like Buzelis for that exact same reason. I have Buzelis like in like the 20s. And like people think he's going to go 5.
I don't like Buzelis either. I'm not.
Yeah.
I like Holland more than I like Buzelis because the reason why I like Holland is because I at least know there's a baseline level of athleticism. He got to the line a ton. Even if the 3-point shot didn't fall, I think over time, if he can ever get to the point where he's an average 3-point shooter, bam, he's a good a good to great role player. And then if he can ever develop the shot even more and become kind of, and he shot well at the combine, which I don't really know if that matters at all, to be honest with you. I think if anything, we talked about this a little bit. I would consider Holland with the first pick if I were the Hawks, because I think in a draft where even like I like Sar, I think he's a top 3 prospect in this class.
Yeah,
but I do understand. Especially if you're going blank slate and you're for sure trading Trae and Dejounte, I think I'd take Holland. Because I think that Sar's going to be a guy that you're going to be disappointed in if you expect him to be the guy. And I think that Holland might have a better long-term outcome if you just give him the ball from day one and you let him kind of cook and learn from his mistakes. And your team's going to fucking suck, like no matter what. But you're also trading Trae and Dejounte, so you don't care about your team being good or not. Yeah. So I think I would, if I'm trading Trae and Dejounte, I'd rather take Holland. If I'm keeping Trae, I think Sar's probably the right pick to make, just based on everything that I know about these guys.
I like Sar. I mean, I like Holland. Holland's one of the better upside swing guys. And I finally like.
And that's my strategy on this draft is that I think that everyone kind of has flaws, and that I'm not treating this like I would a normal draft. I'm treating this more like there's no consensus, so my board's going to be all over the place. Like I generally stay closer to consensus because consensus is usually right. Yeah. Not to say that consensus is like right the whole board down, but consensus is usually 50% right, 60% right, and then I fill in the gaps. I think my board's going to be all over the place compared to consensus. Like I have guys that are probably in the 20s in the top like 6 in this draft.
Same. Yeah. I have Deron Holmes